Hey everybody, we're super excited to chat with Gary Vaynerchuk. So here's a guy who is the definition of hustle. In the early days of social, he grew a mom and pop wine shop from a $3 million a year business to $60 million a year, leveraging the tools we now take for granted: video, AdWords, social media. He's a New York Times best-selling author, starting with Crush It, The Thank You Economy, Jab, 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 Right Hook, and his latest book, Ask Gary Vee. He runs VaynerMedia, one of the world's hottest social media digital agencies. He's invested in so much of the tech that we use every day: Facebook, Twitter, Uber, to name a few, and now he's here to answer your questions. So a huge shout out to Realtor.com for sponsoring the show and purchasing 500 books to give out to the listeners at random. Now welcome to the show.
Yeah, there's still in your line. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. And I want to, before we even start, I want to apologize to everybody because I know I'm running late and I'm embarrassed. It's not my norm, and I don't want people to think I'm cool and I can be late. I had a real issue, and I really apologize. But I'm thrilled I'm here, and thanks for having me.
Awesome.
It's a pleasure to have you, and we know you're running a company over there, so this is a huge honor for us. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bro. So on to the first question. You're the master of hustle, and no matter what you're doing, you always seem to have a crap load of energy. Do you have a morning routine that gets you into the right mindset, or do you just wake up ready, man?
I have a morning routine. I wake up, and somewhere within the first hour, no, D-Rock, I'm not going with the D-Rock's smiling because he knows my normal routine is on my cell phone, go to the bathroom, take a crap, and look at the App Store top 150 apps to know what's popping. But that's not where I'm going with this. I'm going somewhere else. And this is going to get weird. And for a lot of, I'm going to assume a lot of people, you don't know who I am, because I always make that assumption because it's true. So it's a weird place to start, but it's going to really tell you who I am as a person. I normally, every morning, fundamentally trick myself into believing that either my mother or my children die today.
Wow.
That's intense.
And I know it's weird, and I'm not trying to be weird or shock value. I'm very in tune with my feelings. I'm very good at tricking myself. And I truly make pretend that I'm one phone call. By the way, I'm one phone call. We all are one phone call away from having something very tragic happen. And so for me, I am so thankful. I'm not going to be upset because we lost a pitch or a client fired me or my book's not selling as well as I wanted, or, like, it just can't matter as much. Like, what would happen? So if I had everything happen professionally that I wanted, I made $1 trillion. I bought the Jets. We won 11 Super Bowls in a row. Is it going to make me feel any better when something tragic happens? Absolutely not. And so I'm driven by the gratitude of having a day where the day before everybody that I cared about was healthy, and then everything is completely secondary. And I don't just say it. I actually think about it and try to tune to my feelings to understand what it would feel like. And thank God I don't know. But I'm a weird little guy with feelings. I'm really an EQ guy, and I can get myself pretty worked up into an uncomfortable feeling, which then I quickly, kick out of, and it makes me realize that everything else is super simple. But it's unbelievable how high pressure my career is and how little pressure I feel.
That's an art. That's definitely an art.
That's a DNA, that's mom and dad having sex at the right moment and me getting lucky, because I don't think I took a course or figured that out.
Yeah.
It's my hard wiring. I'm driven by gratitude, and I'm very self-aware, and I'm just very thankful. I don't know what else to say.
That's awesome. So, Gary, you started this dialogue a while ago about clouds and dirt, so focusing on vision and at the same time craft and getting your hands dirty. First, can you dive a little deeper on that? And then after that, tell us how we nurture that behavior if it's not natural for us.
So I think most people play in the middle, right? Like, it's the school game, it's the I'll get a job and get a car and a house. They just play in the middle. And so I think all the action is in the clouds and the dirt. First, you need to know what you're up to. Like, what is your thesis? What do you believe in?
Yeah.
Thinking that your loved ones die each day, that's clouds. That's way up here, and it's what grounds my it's religion, right? It's like, because of that, I can't get upset. As some of you may know, my brother just left the business because he has Crohn's disease, right? Yeah. That's devastating. My brother partner is gone. He's not great. It's very emotional. I'm looking at a bare desk, and I don't want to get weird on this episode, but I'll be very frank with you, it's quite emotional. But
Yeah.
I can't. But he's okay, and he's doing it as a, to not get stressed and get sick. And so thank God it's okay, and so I'm grateful, right? So that's my clouds. Why do I do it? A vanity cloud is I want to buy the New York Jets. I want to be known as the greatest entrepreneur that brought value to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So that becomes my behavior. Why don't I have a mastermind course for $25,000? Why don't I sell gated content? Because my goal is not money.
Yeah.
I mean, it is, I'll take it, but with my content and with how I talk to other entrepreneurs, my goal is to impact them and bring them value. And I have to do that in a free environment so as many of them can see it as possible. Next, the dirt. Of everybody who's watching this right now, me, the fancy guy who's getting interviewed, knows more on a tactical level about what to do on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat than anybody else watching. More. Practitioner. I do it.
Yeah.
I look at the data. I do it. I'm the architect and the mason. And so that's how I think about it. I'm in the dirt. The dirt is your craft. Do you actually do it? Or did you build a business once and now you just write books and speak and pontificate even though the world's changed a lot?
Yeah.
I don't care that you made your money on SEO. The world's changed. I don't care that you became a great real estate empire on the back of bus benches and direct mail. The world's changed. Your advice is not as good. And unless you're now doing that on Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram and content and YouTube, well, then you're not as relevant. You're relevant because you figured it out once. But and so you can do the clouds conversation with me. You can teach me a lot, mentor. You theoretically saw the white space in park benches or throwing cocktail parties. You can teach me the thesis, but you can't teach me the dirt because you don't know how to execute in May 2016. Got it?
Yeah. Yep.
Your clouds are one of my favorites. I love it. I try to live by that definitely every single day.
Thank you.
So Gary, one second before you end that, like that's not my nature. Like I'm either really in the dirt because I love craft,
Yes.
or I get so distracted in the clouds that I sort of don't pay attention as the world has changed in the next 2 months. How do I balance that?
By being aware that it's happening
Yep.
and trying to change your behavior. I was 38 and a half and weighed 40 pounds more than I did right now.
Yeah.
I knew it was broken. In 5 years, I tried to fix it. I couldn't get there. And then I did. I willed my way. I hacked my way. I figured out my way to solve the issue at hand. If you truly, first of all, the fact that you have both activities means you're already winning. To be very frank with you, you're very lucky. A lot of people only have a cloud or only have a dirt.
Yeah.
Right? So one, if you actually have both in you, you're very lucky. Number two, if you feel like you go too, like for me, I'm 50-50 on both at all times, or try to be, and I do a good job never getting more than 60-40, I think, if I was judging myself from a subjective, I love myself so much standpoint. But, I stay pretty grounded. If you feel like you go 90-10 and 10-90 and that's a vulnerability,
Yeah.
you need to hack at it. You need to start meditating. You need to start putting something in your calendar. Why don't you put a Google alert in your calendar every day at 2:45? And why doesn't it say clouds and dirt? And why don't you see why doesn't it give you 5 minutes and you never schedule anything? You've got to do a dirt tactic to get you to clouds and dirt. Do a tactic that gets you there, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
Awesome.
So Gary, we run a Facebook group called Lab Code Agents. And so some of these questions are geared specifically toward real estate in general, and that's what my next question is about. So real estate is such a belly-to-belly, human-focused process, but we know with new technology every day that we're not immune to the Uberization of real estate. So what should we be doing to make ourselves more valuable as technology is consistently trying to make the process simpler for the consumer?
A lot of things. Number one, there was nothing that a black car service company could have done to stop Uber other than create Uber itself. So, if you're I believe Weicker or the big Keller Williams, if you're one of the big companies, you should actually try to create the thing that puts yourself out of business. Now, that's not going to be very popular because you have 40,000 agents underneath you, or however the game is played. But please understand, Excuse me, I shouldn't have eaten that shrimp. I'm hiccuping. Okay, I'm over it. Got through. You know, the only way to put yourself out of business is to put yourself out of business. So this is a very fascinating conversation. First and foremost, there's no tactic that ever changes heavy. There was no thing a bookstore could have done to stop Amazon other than build Amazon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just real. That's just real. Now, what you can do, in my opinion, so it's not just a doomsday, you either create Uber or you're dead, is the black car companies. For example, if I owned a black car company, right, and my dad had that instead of a liquor store, I think I would have been okay because I would have been doing marketing for the last decade that was so relevant that I could have changed my revenue. For example, I did that, right? Like, I'm making more money as an entrepreneur today than I did selling wine because what I did to sell wine became my life, and then I could deploy it. So my number one piece of advice is, if you're a real estate agent watching right now, and if you're using any common sense, and clearly you guys are thinking because that's the right question, the biggest reason you should be doing Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, Periscope, Facebook Living open houses is you're getting on the technology treadmill.
Yeah.
And so when something bad happens or something opportunistic happens, you're trained for that marathon or that sprint instead of what a lot of you are going to do, which is poo-poo this stuff because, you know, you're still getting word of mouth because you're the queen of Beverly Hills and everybody just gives your name out and you think you're fine and immune until you're not.
Yeah.
Got it? And so my biggest fear of the people watching right now are the ones that are successful. Because success is my enemy. Because when you're successful, you're not hungry to change.
You're complacent.
100%.
Yeah.
You're reading your headlines.
So someone asked this in the group, which is, I feel like I'm always doing things that don't scale, which got me to where I am today, but those things also get in the way of my growth. What am I missing?
Hire people. I still do the unscalable.
Yeah.
Look what I'm doing with you right now.
Yep.
You know how stupid this is?
Yes and no. I mean, I get it on both sides.
You get it. Like, nobody in my life, if they audited my time, would think this is the right allocation of my time. You could have bought, realtor.com could have bought 10 times more books.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yep.
I'm still in the dirt. I'm still doing things that are not scalable. I know that there's one person that's watching this right now that had never heard of me. It's like, this guy's kooky. Is he full of crap or is he amazing? Goes down the rabbit hole, realizes over time that I'm good, not bad, and then happens to be the uncle of a startup that I'm going to invest in 4 years that I'm going to make $17 trillion on.
Yeah.
Guys, all the action is in scaling the unscalable. Hire people.
Yeah.
Hire people. Instead of taking home $100,000 a year, take home 72 because you hired somebody to do some of the stuff that you don't want to be doing or that you could be doing something else. It's called people.
Yep. Awesome.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Here's another question, man. We experience a lot of burnout in the industry. It's normal. You know, you go all in, and then all of a sudden you have nothing. Real estate is an always-on business. At least it feels like it to me. You talk about working 15-hour days. How does that leave room for family time or for you time?
So my 15 hours a day is my you time. You know, I'm one of the rare breeds, and I don't tell people they should do what I do because we're all different. I just got lucky that I love what I do so much. This is what I would do if I didn't get paid.
Yeah.
You know, like, how lucky did I get, right? It's not playing, and now you can actually do this playing video games. It's funny. You can make. But by the way, that's a whole other thing that the internet's doing. You can actually start building business. I wrote this. It was called Crush It. You can actually make $100,000 a year being the world's Dungeons and Dragons expert.
Oh, it's awesome.
Or the #1 person around flowers, or really good at MMA opinions, and become like, it's amazing. But anyway, you know, I think so. First of all, to answer it directly, every minute that I work is me time. Yeah. I've given up all my other hobbies that are secondary. The only hobby that went above it was the New York Jets, right? And so I'll never work when the Jets are playing. It'll never happen to the day I die. So there's that. As far as family, I'm all in on the weekends. You know, I'm a big believer in depth versus width. I think there's a lot of guys that try to politically correct me that come home at 6:30 but actually don't spend any time with their kids or family. They just go in their man cave and don't give a shit. So great, you're physically there, but are you there? Right? So I try to be all in on the weekends. We now have gone from 2 to 7 weeks vacation. I bought a fancy house in the Hamptons that I'm going to work out of on Fridays so that I can spend a lot more time and have much more summertime. I'm now going to drive at 5 a.m. on Monday morning instead of last year when we rented. I went home on Sunday nights. This gives me another 4 hours, 3 hours with the family. I have to wake up early as crap, but whatever. You fight for what you care about.
Yeah.
And so, I'm not worried about living the politically correct life. I'm very fine living the life that works for me, my wife, my kids right now. And by the way, my kids are 6 and 3.
Yeah.
When they're 11 and 8 and are far more interesting to me and are into things like I'm into, and they're doing cooler stuff, and I'll spend more time. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So that's how I try.
Do that, man. Family, that's awesome. But you also said you bought a home in the Hamptons. Did you use the realtor, or is it like a family friend? How does that work? I just want to see how that works.
That's a great point. That realtor came through a relationship. It was definitely a word of mouth. And what I'm trying to figure out, is it the old school word of mouth, which it was just pure word of mouth, or was it what I believe every realtor should understand, which is Facebook and Twitter and social media is a gateway drug to a human connection.
Yeah.
So let's see. I know it was somebody we didn't know, and I know she was recommended. And I think through a family friend, so I don't get my nut off on this one and win. But I can tell you that the amount of people that are doing business, the amount of money I'm making off of making a connection with somebody on Twitter or Facebook, and this is before I became Gary Vee, back in the normal days of 2006, 7, 8, that are now friends or family that led to business.
Yeah.
Technology is a gateway drug to relationships. And
It's phenomenal.
The real estate business, much like many businesses, is completely word of mouth, but there's a lot of ways to get word of mouth. For example, imagine if you Facebook Lived and Snapchat. Snapchat is not going to sell homes, or is it? Let me explain. Let's say you start Snapchatting your open houses. What if I told you that the 11 people that follow you, 11, go out to dinner tomorrow, one of the 11, and goes, let's do something crazy? My friend Nick is Snapchatting his open house. It's so weird. It's so weird. And then Carol, the friend from high school that's with that friend, one of your 11, goes, oh, that's weird. My sister's in the market for a house. Where? Oh, Millburn, New Jersey. Oh, that's where Nick is. Guys.
I don't know where I am, actually. So.
You don't understand how marketing and branding works. If you're just a salesman, if everything's just transactional, you'll only be this big.
Yeah.
Got it?
Yep.
Like the world works in different ways. Doing things that are smart are always smart. AKA, you might not sell from a direct click on a Snapchat, but if you're doing Snapchat when nobody else is doing Snapchat and Snapchat's becoming huge, maybe the local paper wants to do a piece on you being the Snapchatting realtor. So maybe you actually email the local paper and say, hey, I'm Snapchatting real estate. You should check out what I'm doing. Then they write the piece, and then all the old people with money read it in the paper and buy from you.
Yeah. So that leads me to the next question, which is...
Hold on, that was some real tactical stuff.
No, it's...
That was good, bro. That's why I asked it. I was like, you know what? You dropped the real term.
Everybody understands. That was real. That's real.
That was good.
Yep. So you've talked a lot in the past about content marketing and creating content, but now the conversation seems to have shifted to being a media company. Can you tell us more about that?
Semantics.
Okay.
Except that the world sees content as, I'm going to make content for these things, and media companies, like, it's under one roof. But that's how I've always thought about it, right? Like, I content market. D-Rock's filming Daily V35 right now. That little rant I just did, I'm now telling him something. That little rant I just did, I'm going to make a separate clip as, like, here's some advice for realtors, right? Like, but it's all under the umbrella of Gary Vaynerchuk as a media entity.
Yep.
Got it?
Yep. Yep, that makes complete sense. So is it about scale and velocity when you say a media company?
The reason I've used the think like a media company is the second people think that they're not making advertising and they're making media, they make better media, which means they're making better advertising.
Okay, cool.
If you don't think like you're making a bench park ad, on Facebook, and you think like you're actually trying to educate people around Scarsdale in Westchester, you're making content. If you think you're the Scarsdale Times as a realtor versus what if I put a picture of my face on a bench in Scarsdale, then your content's going to be a lot better and you're going to sell a lot more.
Got it. Very cool.
Hey, Gary, the emotions of a salesperson, depending on the market, can go up and down. You know, you have a great week, and then you're the best realtor in the world. You have a crappy week, and then, you know, my life is over. I'm never going to feed my kids. So a lot of agents go through some severe depression. So when you get depressed,
Yes.
you know, how do you stay so energized and deal with it and keep going?
I make pretend my family dies.
So it goes back to that.
You know, look, I don't think I brought a lot of value with that answer. I just think it's the truth.
No, that's a great answer.
Let me tell you something about real estate, and I see this right now happening in startup culture. Way too many of you are looking for a quick buck.
I agree with that 100%.
So I think a lot of people that are watching, 10%, they're truly real estate people. They're doing it for 50 years, and they don't get depressed because they know it goes up and down and this and that. The amount of my friends that became real estate agents back in 07, 06, whenever it was good, that never sold anything in their lives, right? They were like an accountant or like a cement pourer, like, you know, just like, you know,
yeah, opportunistic.
That's right. And this was the bubble. In the same way right now, every 24-year-old is a startup whiz, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest problem in real estate is that it's one of the sectors that's so lucrative when it's good that it brings a lot of fake realtors to the market. And then when it gets hard, they have no idea because they didn't realize they were a C and D player riding an A wave.
Yeah.
It goes back down to value. I see that. Yeah.
100%. Like, people are just opportunistic. Like, when the banks are fooling around or when a city gets hot or whatever's going on or Wall Street's being silly, like, people are being opportunistic. They just are making big commissions off of something. Let's call a spade a spade. Let me tell you something. You can be mad at me. I'm not trying to hurt feelings. When the market's phenomenal, you don't have to be so great to make bank.
That's so true. So true.
That's it. It's it. By the way, social media experts in 2006, 7, and 8. Do you know how many of them were real estate agents in 2005 and 4? It was unbelievable. Literally, social media experts that came from real estate. They were just looking for the next train. And it was easy to make a couple of quick bucks as a $5,000 a month social media expert in 2009 and 10 because nobody knew what it was. They've all been weeded out. And then the people that really had the chops are sticking around.
Yeah.
Hey, Steph and Tristan, do you mind if Gary kind of like wait? Okay. Gary kind of segued into the value. Can I just ask that question?
Can we wrap up in like 3 minutes?
Yeah, dude, value. Go.
More questions? Okay, listen, so you kind of like segued into value. So I heard Gary Keller at the Keller-Williams convention say this, that 20 years ago as an agent, your value proposition was, oh, you want to buy a house? Well, I have access to the MLS, right? So now with so much at the buyer and seller's disposal with the national portals, what's the one thing that agents should be focusing on to continue to bring value to their clients?
Context.
Yep.
You're no longer in the content business. In that sense, not the content to make content and know people about you. I mean the raw data. This house is available. This is what you're no longer in the black and white. You're in the gray. What you can do is you can become known for the person that tells people which neighborhoods to go into that actually go up in value. You can be known for the person that has such relationships. Here's a good one. You know what you want to be known for and then make content on Facebook about?
Right.
You have the greatest relationships with the school system in your town. That you, Kathy, are homies with every teacher in town. Because I got to tell you, when all those people leave the cities and go to the suburbs, school is a big variable.
Yeah.
And if they search Milburn, New Jersey, and one of the first results, or you target them right, and it says, Milburn, New Jersey, want to know about it? It's me, Sally, and they dig, and then they search your name, and one of the fifth results is an interview you did, and the question is, why are you so close to the school district? Because you think it brings value for the people that come into town. How do you bring value? How do you bring value? Not information. You bring value by context.
Yeah.
Understanding who the best barber is in town. What time the person should take their train station to. Why they shouldn't go with this house but this house, because they're going to want a swimming pool, and the board in town is very hard. So if you don't have a swimming pool already, now I'm going to say something really interesting. You know what the answer is? The truth. Be the person that's best at the truth. If you don't care about the sale and you talk people, the quickest way to win and be a big realtor is the person that knows how to talk people out of a transaction, not into one.
Very cool.
Very true.
We were just talking about that yesterday on another webinar. I completely agree with that.
What do you guys have, webinar machines? You do it every day?
We had a webinar with our brokerage, and that was one of the topics that came up, like actually telling a client when you feel a house isn't right for them, be honest about it and tell them that.
You tell me and 80% of America the truth and talk me out of something, I'll sell you 11 homes. You lie to me, you'll get my one sale.
Yeah.
That's true. All right.
Gary, thank you
so much, man. Thanks so much for sharing this
Everybody
insight.
go buy the book, and you're a
Realtor.com.
realtor, join Lab Coat Agents on
On the
Facebook.
books.
Gotta go. Love you guys. Stay well.
Thank you, Gary.
Appreciate it, man.
That was awesome.
We're still live, guys.
I love it.
We're still live.
So many questions that
All right,
we're
guys.
live.
Thanks so much.
Yeah. Hey,
We're still live.